we have a pretty nice app already, so we can log in, log out, and sign up. Now let's work on that verification email. So I'm logged in here, and if you go to our store, so let's go to our state. If we go to Firebase and to Auth, we can see that the email verified is false. Okay, so the user shouldn't be able to see this page. So let's now start creating a container to redirect the user when he is not verified. Let's create a new folder in our Auth folder called, we can call it verify email. And then let's create a new file called verifyemail.js. And this is a functional component, and we want to redirect the user here when his email is not verified. So we probably will sell this later, but now let's just write you are not verified. Okay, and now what we need to do is on our app container, you remember we get if the user is logged in here, right? And we get this from our store here, and actually here we don't need this. We can just pass in this property. So if it exists, it will be automatically be true here. If it's undefined or it doesn't exist at all, it will be false, so it will be the same. And inside this this property on our state, so if we go to Firebase, let's go to our state, Firebase, Auth, and you have email verified. What you can do is you can say email verified, it's on Firebase, Auth, email verified, right? And now you have access to this on your props. And what you can do is, if the user is logged in and the email isn't verified, right? So if this is false, we can just put our route, and we will just render one route here. So let's make the switch, and let's make a route exact path, and here we can just render the verify email route. You can make it like this, and this will render the component verify email that we need to import it here. So let's import verify email from, and it's on our containers, auth verify email. So it's verify email, email, and let's render this route here. And it's not route, it's routes. And we can also render the logout route, right? Because if the user, it makes sense that the user can still log out and can still have access to this. Okay, we can change this to an else if. Okay, so now if the user is logged in but it's not verified, we will render this route. If the user is only logged in and the email verified exists, we can actually make it like this. We will render this, and if the user is logged out, we will render this one instead. And we need a redirect here too. So if the user goes to a page that doesn't exist at all, in this case, we want to always redirect to verify email. Okay, and let's see if this is working. If you go here, we are not verified, and you see that we are automatically redirected to our new container that says you are not verified because we still didn't verify our email. So we are not verified, we are redirected to here. And if we try to go to other route, we will automatically be redirected to here. If we log out, we still have access to our login, so we can log in, but since we are not verified, we will be always redirected to this page. Okay, so let's style this page a bit next, and let's also send a verification email when the user signs up. To style this a bit, I'm just going to reuse our form wrapper, even though this is not a form. I'm just going to use it because we have that nice blue background. So I'm gonna import. And what is is it called? If we go to our iOrder component elements, it's form wrapper, right? It's not a form, it's the form wrapper. So form wrapper, this is a named export. So from, now we go 1, 2, 3, iOrder components, oops, iOrder components, layout elements. And now we can use our form wrapper here. Okay, and now let's also use our heading here. So I like to give a break between my component imports and my package imports. So import, and what is it called? I don't remember. Let's go to our UI. So UI, it's adding. Okay, so let's import adding from, and let's go 1, 2, 3 components, UI, adding, and let's use our heading here. So it's an heading. We can say verify your email. If you remember, we can open that component, and here we can pass in the color, if you want margin, or if you don't want margin in this case, and the size. I'm going to make it an H1, and the color, if you remember here, if the color is equals to white, it will be rendered white, otherwise it will render on our main color. So in this case we want it white, so we can say color equals white, and its size, right? If size is an H1. Okay, verify your email. And what we can do here, to make it the same as the other one, we can render another heading, and it can be an H5, and it can be bold, and we can say go to your email inbox and please verify your email. What have I done? What am I missing here? Oh, this doesn't exist. The max we have is it's an H4, so it was complaining that this didn't return anything. Okay, go to your email inbox and please verify your email. Looks good to me, but now we need to actually send this email, right? When the user first signs up. So if you go to Firebase documentation and you go to manage users, you will find here the documentation to send a user verification email. And basically you can access that Firebase object that we have access here on our thunks. So let's go to auth actions. And not when we sign in, but when we sign up the user, we need to do it. So we sign up the user and we have access to that Firebase object here. And if you remember, right after we sign him up, so here, we are logged in automatically, even before we send it to our database. If this success, so if this doesn't throw an error, you will automatically be logged in. So here we can send the verification email, right? And what we simply do is you can make const user equals to firebase dot auth, okay, dot, and it's current user, and now you can simply say user.send verification email. So you can simply say user.send verification email, and we can wait for this before saving to our Firestore. Okay, looks good to me. And let's see if this is working. I'm going to delete my user so I can register myself again. So let's go here, authentication, and I'm going to delete it from here. I'm also going to delete it from my database. So I can just remove the whole collection. It will automatically create it if it doesn't exist. So users. Okay, I should be logged out. Let's sign up. Let's use my email. Okay, let's sign up. Signing up. Okay, I'm not verified still, but now I'll go to my email. And I'm not going to show you my email. I'm going to open on my other screen. And I should have a verification email from Firebase. Okay, I was wondering why I didn't got the email, and it's because I was executing this as a function, and it's not a function, it's a property. So here we don't execute it. Okay, and now it should be working. I will delete myself again and register again, and I should get the email. Okay, I'm going to log in. I'm not verified, but I already got the email. And it's this link. I'm going to open it here, and I'm going to enter it. And now we will get this message. Your email has been verified. You can now sign in your account. And now if you go here, now if we try if we refresh our app, you'll see that this route will disappear, right? Because when the user is logged in and verified, we are not even rendering that route. So the user is logged in and verified, we don't render this route. So we enter this case, and we will automatically be redirected to the slash path that will render the to-dos. And now you can see that we have access to our to-dos already. So our email is verified. But now we need to take care of other thing. And that is, imagine you sign in, you sign up, and you get your verification email, but you delete it, right? For some reason you didn't got it, or you deleted it. You'll try to log in, and you'll see that message that says you need to log in, you need to verify your email, but you don't have your verification email, right? So let's make a button that will resend the verification email. So the user has the ability to resend the verification email in case he deletes the email or something goes wrong. Okay, I simply created another account with another email, so I'm not verified yet. So we can use that button that we have already in our UI to say a message here to the user, like resend the verification email or something. So let's go to our verify email container. Let's import our button from and its components, UI button. I think it's button. No, it's inside forms. Even though it doesn't make sense to be inside forms, but leave it there. And now here, after this, we can say button, we can say resend verification email. Okay, and now we have this cool button that we can click to resend the verify email. The design here is not that great. We have the spacing is not good enough. I'm not liking it, but we'll leave it like this for now. And now what we need to do is to create an action creator that will be executed when we click here, right? And when we click here, that action creator will be executed. It will run this code. So because we will only be able to click here if we are logged in but not verified, so we have access to the current user. Okay, so we'll send that action, and then we will see if something goes wrong to display an error message here to the user, or if it sends successfully, we will say here message sent. Okay, so to do this, I'm going to first go to my auth reducer here, and here I'm going to create a new object called verify email. So I'm not going to use this again because this is like global auth, so login and sign up. Here I'm going to create another piece of state here, and I'm going to say error null again and loading to false again. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to action types, and what I can do is I can export a const saying verify start, right? So we can set loading to true, and this will be equal to verify start. Let's duplicate this. We don't need to do verify end because if it goes okay, we will dispatch success, and on the success I'm going to set loading to false anyways, and if it goes wrong I'm going to dispatch verify fail, and I'm going to set the loading to false anyways. Okay, so I'm not going, and here we can do the same. We can remove the auth end and set the loading to false here if it's success or if it fails, but I'm not going to do that right now. So okay, we have our constants here, and now let's go to our reducer, and what we want to do is in case actions that verify email start, and now remember here we shouldn't mutate our original state. Okay, so I'm going to create a copy of my state, and now if I simply do like verify, if I do this and I type something in here, this object here will still be a reference to our original state. So it will be a reference to this. So we will not be returning a new object. So what we need to do is we need to say verify email will be an object, right? And we will spread. So we will make a copy of this object. Okay, so we can say we can spread and our state that verify email here, right? And then here we can say that loading will be true. Okay, so we create a copy of our original state and we spread it here, and then we create we go into the verify email property that we have on the copy that we created here, and inside that property here, instead of mutating this state, we create another new object and we spread our state.verify email. So we create another new object and we copy this to here, and then we set loading to true. Okay, and in the future we will refactor this to be clear. So we will make it we will create some helper functions to do this instead, and instead of spreading the state every time, we can create a function that do that for us. But for now we'll do it like this, and then we can say actions that verify success, and here what we will do, we will return, and again new object, spread the previous state, go into the verify email key email, and a new object again, we spread our previous state into our new object, and then what we say here is the loading will be false and the error will be false, right? And then in case actions dot verify fail, what we'll do, we will return, and again a new object, we spread the previous state, we go into the verify email key inside this object, we create a new object, we spread the previous verify email object here, and then what we say is loading will be false again even if it fails, and the error will be our payload, right? Okay, so we have our reducer done, and it's changing our store according to the functions, to the actions we dispatch. So let's go to our auth actions now and take care of this action. So we can say verify email action, and what we can say is export const verify email, and we don't need to receive anything. Oops, we don't need to receive anything. And here we will have our async function that will have access to the dispatch, to the get state, and here we can destructor the get Firebase, remember? So get Firebase, and now inside here we can try to send the email, and if it fails, sorry, we catch it, and here we will dispatch our error, that message. Okay, so now what we can do is we can say here again const Firebase equals to get Firebase. Here we can try to send, so we can await, and it's Firebase dot Actually, we need to get the current user, so we can say const user equals to firebase.auth, if you remember, to get the current user, .current user, right? And now we can await, remember here, we can await for the user .send verification email. So we can wait for its user, not Firebase, send verification email. And if it goes successfully, we can dispatch an action that will have the type of actions.verify success, right? And before doing anything, we need to dispatch our verify start. So we set our loaders to true. Actions.verify start, and if it fails, we can dispatch, and the type will be actions.verify fail, and here we need to pass in the error, so the payload will be our error.message. Okay, we can remove this console log. So we have our action creator to verify the email. We need to export it, if you remember. So we go to our index and we export it here. Okay, so now we have our action exported. So we can go to our verify email, and here we can import everything as actions from, and let's import our actions here. So we can go 1, 2, 3 folders up, store, and into our actions folder. So we now have our actions here. Let's import the connect function. So we have we connect this container to our Redux store. Here let's have that two handy functions, constants here. So here we have access to our old state, if you remember. So we have access to our store, and what we want from our store on this container is to have access to the new part of the state that we created here inside Auth verify mail. So we see if there is an error, or if the loading is true or false. So what we can say is we can say loading, and here we can destruct the auth only because we don't need the Firebase here. And we can say the loading will be on auth.verify email.loading, and we can duplicate this, and the error will be on error, right? So we are accessing auth inside our store, verify email, loading, and error accordingly. So now we can connect our component. So connect, in the first argument we pass our map state to props. In our second argument we pass our map dispatch to props, to copy it, and then this returns a function. This returns a function that we can then pass our components. Okay, so like this. And why are you wrapping? Okay, and then here we need to dispatch our action creator. So we can say send verification, and we can name it this whatever we want. Okay, so it will be actions dot, and what have we called verify email, correct? So now we can have access to this on our props. On our props we have access to this, and now on our button we need on click, and we need to pass this function. So on click, what we will do on click is we will execute the function callback, and if you send verification, okay, if you remember, on our button we don't have this prop, so we need to modify that. So let's go to our button component. We are on our button component. We here also want to receive on click, right, because the button can execute something on click. So, and actually we are spreading the rest here. So everything that we pass to our button as props, we are spreading it into the button. So here, if we say that the on click is a callback, this will be received there and will be spread anyways. At least I think so. Let's see. And now what we can do here, we can import our message already, right? So to show the user if it went successfully or if something went wrong. So import message, and this message component is on our components. If I remember correctly, is on components, UI, and now it's message, I guess. Okay, yeah, message. Okay, and now here we also have access to loading and to error, right? So error and loading. And for now, let's just render our messages here. And now here we can say that we show the error. And if you remember, this message component as a prop called show. So if the show is true, it will make the message visible. So we can say show equals to error. Oh, oops, I mean to error. And what we can say here is display a message saying message sent success. I think this is not spelled correctly, but whatever. Successfully. Okay, I guess this is right. So let's go to our message, and here, if you remember, if we pass in the prop success, it will be green, right? So the color will be green. We can change that green later. So here it's green, and if we pass in the prop error, it will be red. So here, what we can do more, we can pass the loading to the button. Remember, so loading, and here what we said is if the loading exists, it will pass the loading message. So here we can say if there is loading, we pass in sending email, otherwise we don't want to pass anything. Okay, so if the loading is true, we'll make the button say sending email. And what we are missing is to show right now this message will be not shown. We need to show it, but we need to show it only when, if you remember, on our reducer, we start with the error to null, right? And if we send the email successfully, we change it to false. And I did this intentionally. So if it's not sent at all, it will be null. And if it was sent, the error will be false, right? So what we can say here is we show. So this will be true if the error, right, equals to false, right? So not equals to null, it's equals to false. So I'm using this operator here. Okay, and I think this is good for now. Let's see if our action gets dispatched. Send, verify start, verify success. Okay, we see that we get our message, and if we reload now, let's try this again. Let's send. Okay, sending email, and now we got an error. It's working, and this error is because Firebase doesn't allow you to keep sending verification emails. So we can already see that our error message is working. Okay, the loading is working too, because when we are sending, we change the state here. We can just make the button disabled too. Okay, if we are sending, so disabled is if loading. Okay, and now the button will be disabled when we are sending the email. Okay, and looks good to me. The only thing that we are failing here is you can see that the form is grown again. So we can, just like we did on sign up, that we wrap the message on a message wrapper to make it position absolute. We can make that here too. So let's copy this. And here at the top, we can make this. We can import styles from styled components. And now let's wrap that message on. We can wrap this message here. And we can also wrap this message on our wrapper. Okay, and now the form shouldn't grow at all. We are not seeing the message. Why? Oh, we need to make this form wrapper position relative, right? Because otherwise position absolute here will not work. So we can go to elements here, and the form wrapper. we can make it position. And this is just CSS, because if you have an element with the position absolute, it will go position himself absolute relative to his parent, and this parent has to, it's the first parent that has position relative. So now it should be working. Okay, it's working, but our form wrapper, it's this whole thing. So we need to create another div here, right? Because now the message is absolute to this form wrapper, and the form wrapper is this whole thing. So what we can do is we don't need it here actually. We can close this, and we need to wrap this on a wrapper, and we will just put everything inside this wrapper, and this wrapper will just be a style.div. We can just make it with 100% and height 100%. Okay, it's working now. Okay, now we need to also make it display flex to center the whole thing. Flex, the flex direction, column, align item center. Okay. Okay. Why is it here? Well, oh, we need position relative, right? So the message gets position relative to this div, because we have position absolute to the bottom of it, so it will be relative to this. Now it should be working finally. Okay, it's working. We just need to give it some padding here, so we can say merge. Let's see, actually, let's see what we have on our form, so we be consistent. In our form here, form wrapper. Okay, let's just give it some margin at the top and at the bottom. Why is the margin not? Oh, it's not. Yeah, margin. Yeah, it has to be padding. Okay, now it's working. A little bit too much, maybe. So let's make it 1. Okay, now it's working. Make it 1.5. Okay, it's looking good to me now. And now when the user logs in and it's not verified, he has the ability to resend the verification email. Now we are getting an error because we already sent one not so long ago, but you saw it was working on the first try. I actually removed the padding from here, just some styling stuff. I removed the padding from so if you go to our verify email container, I had a padding here, I removed it. So I have this div which is the height 100%, and I just went to the button and gave it some margin at the top and at the bottom. So that will make the outside div grow, right? Because the height is 100%, and it will just make the message show up nicely. So if I log in here, okay. If I log in, I'm not verified, but now the button has margin, a bit of margin, and this div is as the height 100%, and now the message will be placed nicely. You see that it was successfully sent. And if I go to my email here, I have an email here that I need to click to verify my email. Let's try to verify it. And okay, this is the previous one. Okay, it was actually, the recent one was on my spam folder. So I'm gonna click here. And this is not that pretty here, this white box. This is what Firebase gives you. You can change that if you go to Authentication Templates, and you can change here the action URL, and this is what takes care of all of that. And you can see, click here and see how this works. But you'll need to basically set up a server-side server that would get this URL, and this sends us different actions depending if you are changing the email, verifying a password, or everything. I'm not going to go into that now, but you can search on the web how to do that. Another bug that I don't know if you spotted it, but if you sign up and let's use a random email and you are not verified, so I'm not verified now, you see that we still have this message here, right? And you can, for example, it is throwing a new error now, and if you log out and if we log in, we still, oops, the message is still here. And what we need to do is remember that clear action that we have. So if we go to our auth actions, we have this clean action that dispatch a cleanup. So if you go to our reducer and we go to our where is it, our cleanup function, let's actually pass it to the top. So here we also need to clean the error from here, right? So what we can do is we can say that the verify email will be a new object, and we spread the previous object here, and we basically then say that the loading is false and the error is null, right? And now we need to dispatch this action when this component unmounts as a cleanup. So use effect here. We need to dispatch that action into our container, so we can say clean up, and it's on actions.clean, and now we have access to this on our component here. Now we can use effect here, so use effect here, and on the return function that will get executed when this component unmounts, we can run this function, and we don't need this here. Okay, and now this should be run when the component unmounts. So let's go to our, let's see our Redux here. We sent, it was sent, verify success, let's log out, and the cleanup was run. So now let's log in again. I don't remember the email, it was this one, I think. And now the message shouldn't be there. Okay, and it's not here because we cleaned it up here. And now if you log out, you'll see it will clean again. So this is fixed now. Okay, so now that we have our verify email feature working, let's now work on the recover password feature, because the user can forget the password and we need to make sure that he can recover it. So let's create a new container inside our Auth folder called recover password, and let's create a new file inside that folder called recoverpassword.js, and it's going to be a React arrow function component. And here I'm already importing my form wrapper, right? So it's form wrapper, form wrapper from, and it's on our iOrder components. So 1, 2, 3 iOrder components. What is it called? Layout / elements. Here we can use this form wrapper, and let's import our heading too. So import heading. This is a default export, so we can import it. We don't need the curly braces. So from, and we go 1 up, 2 up, 3 up, components, UI, headings, heading. And now we render our heading here, and let's say recover your password. Don't forget we need to pass it size. Can be an H1, color can be white. Okay, let's see. We can duplicate this heading and make a smaller h4, bold, maybe saying type in your password to type in your email to recover your password. And now we need a form here, right? So the user can input his email. Let's close this and the button too. So now we need a form here, right? If you remember, we already styled the form and we did that in our elements, right? We have a styled form and this form is from our formic, if you remember correctly. So let's import this here. So besides the form wrapper, we want to import our styled form, and here we can render it. And now here we can have a formic form. We can go to, for example, our login, and you can see here that we can have our formic with our initial values and our validation and all of that. And then here we have our form wrapper. Okay, and we can actually put the headings inside the form wrapper. And we also have the style form, which is that style form that we imported now. So what we can do is we need to import formic and field, right, on our recover password from formic. So let's import formic and field from formic. We can import everything as yup from yup, right? We want to have email verification here, and we can already create our schema to verify the email. So we can say const, we can say recover schema, and now I'm going to just copy this one and modify it to my needs. So this is just an email here, we don't need the password, so it's required. Okay, and now here we can have our formic. So right here on the return we can have our formic, and let's just close it already. And here we can say, if you remember, we have props that we have to pass in the initial values and the schema. Let's just copy that. So initial values, the email will be nothing, the validation schema will be our recover schema, right? We need to pass our onSubmit function that will later execute an action creator, right, to send the recover email. Let's just delete this for now, and let's just console.log the values, and let's say send the email to recover, right? It's what we want to do here. So we can do this, and now what do we need more? Okay, now if you remember, inside our formic, so here we have access. So let's write JavaScript, then we have access to a function, right, where we can destructure these values. So we can write JavaScript, then we have a function here that will return, and this just returns our form after, if you remember. So since this is an arrow function, we don't need to make the function body like this. So we have this function, and we can use just parentheses to implicitly return here. So we can just grab this from here and return that here. And now here we can destructure the is submitting and the is valid, right? And now here inside we can render our style form with our field. So here we can do this, and where is this? Oh, okay. So we have our form wrapper, and our styled form wraps our form. So styled form. Okay, and this styled form is just the form, remember, that we just saw here. It's just the form from formic. Okay, so we have our email. We need to import our input component, right? Because on forms we use our own input component. So import input from, and let's go to components /UI /forms /input and input. And now here we use our input. We also need the button, right, to submit. And yeah, here it's yep with capital letter. So let's actually duplicate this and let's import our button. So forms /button button. Okay, and now here we can render a button. So okay, so we can just copy this button, and here after the email we paste the button where we say when it's loading we can say sending recover email. We can write here recover email. The loading we don't have yet, we have to take care of that later, so I'm just gonna comment. And the disabled, we can already have it, so if the form is not valid, the button will be disabled, and if it's submitting, it will be also disabled. So we can here make type your email. Okay, and let's see how this is looking. So now we need to render this container on some route. Okay, so it just makes sense that user can recover his password when he is logged out, right? So here are our logged out routes. So we can duplicate one and say /recover will render our recover password container. And we need to import the password container here. So let's just import recover password from containers /auth recover password /recover password. And now if we go to this route, we should have this component rendered. So we are not logged out. Okay, so let's see recover, and something is wrong. Nothing was returned from render. Why? So, and you can see that the error is on the heading. So let's see what we are passing to the heading. We are probably passing an invalid. Yeah, we are passing 4, so 4 doesn't exist as a side on our heading, so it's h4. Okay, and now we have our recover password containers, and this space here, why are you so big? Oh, okay, let's pass in no margin here. So no margin, you remember we make our heading that in a way that if we pass no margin, there will be no margin. Oh, okay, looks better to me. And we can do that, I'm remembering it now, in our verify email. Yeah, it was a big gap there. So now in our recover password, what we have a formic form, right? And we have a validation schema that we are just making sure that it's a valid email and that it's filled with something. We pass in the initial values, which will be nothing. We pass our validation schema to run the validation. Then what do? We have our form rendered here, and the button will be always disabled until we pass in a valid email. So what do we need to do now? Let's click on recover. Okay, we see the values here, and we have our email here. So what we need to do now is to go to our reducer and create here another state to see if the recover email had an error while sending, if it is sending, so with the loading property, and then we need to create an action creator to send the recover password. So let's do that next. Okay, so now that we have our form that's getting an email input, we need to dispatch an action to recover the password of this user, right? We also should display here a successful message if the email was sent, and if there was an error, we should also display it here. Okay, so let's first we can copy the messages from, for example, our verify email. We have this message component here. that we can display here, right? And we can copy these styles here. We can paste them here. We can import our style components, so styles from style components. So style components work here, right? Okay, so now what you need to do is start working on our reducer. So we can create a new key here called recover password, where we will see if it's sending the password or if there was an error. So we can copy this here, we can paste it. We can already go to action types, right? And we can copy this and duplicate because it's the same. So let's just write recover. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select verify. I'm hitting Command D on my VS Code, so it will select everything like this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm going to write recovery. Okay, we have our action names here, action types. So now we can go to our reducer, and what we can say here is case actions dot recover start, right? What we're going to do again, return a new state where we spread the old state, and we go to our recover password, correct? So recover password, and we'll say it's a new object where we spread the old one, so state.recover password, and we say that loading will be true, right? When it's not success here, it's start. So recovery. What am I missing here? Let's go to our action types. Oh, I'm missing an Y here. Okay, so now it should be good. So recover start, and we can actually copy and paste this twice, right? So now here we can say recovery success, and on success again loading to false, right? And error to false, like we did before with the verify email. And in case the recovery succeeds, I mean fails, sorry. So in case recovery fails, loading to false again, and the error will be equal to our payload that we will send on our action. So our reducer is working. When we dispatch start, it will set the loading to true of the recover password. When it's success, it changes the state of the loading to false and the error to false, so we can display a success message. And when it fails, we say error, it's equal to the payload that we will send, and we also change the loading to false. So we can go to our actions now. We have our action to verify the email here, and we can create another action. So send verification email, and we can export const. It's not verification email, it's recover email, sorry. And it's recover password, not email. So we can say export const recover password, and this will get the email, right? So this will get the data from the form, which will be only the email. And what we can do then is return a function, right? Will be asynchronous to see if the email was sent successfully. So dispatch get state like always, and here we can destructor the get Firebase, and now we can say const Firebase equals get Firebase, and then we can try to send the email here, and if it fails we can catch with the error, and here if it fails we can already dispatch the action with the type of actions dot recover fail, and here before everything starts we can already dispatch the type of recovery start, and here after we send the email here, after it sends we can dispatch the recovery success, and here when we send the fail action, we need to pass it the payload will be the r.message. r.message. So let's go to Firebase documentation now to see how we can send a recover password. So set a user's password. This is to update the password. Send a password, reset email. This is what we want. So basically, we can say, we can go to Firebase object, go execute the auth property, and then send password, reset email, right? So what we can do here is we have our Firebase object here. So we can do Firebase dot auth, right? Dot send password, reset email, and then we go to our data and we access the email. Remember that form, it's sending the data, which will be an object, and inside that object we will have our email from our form, right? And then we can go to that object data and access the email, right? And we pass in the email to this function. So we can await here. Okay, and this should be working. If there is no errors, we will dispatch this action. If there is an error, we will dispatch this action. And before everything starts, we set loading to true, and either here or here we set loading to false. Right, so let's export this action creator on our index here. So let's export it here. And now let's close this. We can already do another thing, which is go to our reducer here, and on our clean on our clean, when the reducer receives the clean action creator, I mean the clean action, we can already go to recover password and create a new object with the state dot recover password, and we can say the loading is false and the error is null. Okay, just so our clean action cleans everything. Okay, so now we can go to our recover password. We can import our actions here, right? So we can do import everything as actions from, now we go 1, 2, 3 up, store/actions. We need to import connect here, so we connect this to our Redux store. So connect here, we need those two constants so we can map. So we get access to our state. We can go to our auth and we can say that loading will be auth dot, and whatever we call it. So let's go to our reducer. We called it recover password, right? So auth dot recover password dot loading, and the error will be on the same spot but on the error. And then we can say recover email will be on actions dot recover, not recover email, recover password. And now we can connect it, so let's connect. And here we pass map state to props and map dispatch to props. Okay, and now we have access to all of this here. So we have access to the error, to the loading, and to the recover password. And I'm misspelling here something. Yeah. Where? Okay, so here it's not password, so I'm going to select everything and I'm going to change it to recover password. Okay, so it's recover password. Now here it's recover password. Okay, so we can actually name this send email or something. Okay, and now we get that here. we need to import our message component, right? Because it's already complaining. We didn't import it. So import message from components UI message/message. Okay. And let's see if everything is okay. We are missing here. Recover password is not exported. So okay, here is also recover password. And now on our index here, on our actions, it's recover password. Okay, let's go over it again. I'm going to... Okay, so we have our action types to start the recovery process, to success and fail. On our reducer, when we get the recover start, we set loading to true of this part of the state here. When we get recovery success, we set the error to false, right? It was null, we set it to false, and the loading will be false. And when it fails, the loading will be false anyways, and the error will be our error that we will dispatch on our action, right? So now in our actions, we have this action that gets the data that will be sent from the form. This is an object, and inside this object we have the form fields. It's just the email in this case. We return another function. It's an asynchronous function. We get access to the dispatch and the get state from our thunk. On the third argument, we destructor the get Firebase. We get the Firebase object here by executing this function. Before starting anything, we dispatch the action recovery start, which will make the loading set to true. We try to send the email to the user. We pass in the email to this function. If it goes well, we dispatch recovery success. If it fails, we will catch the error here, and we will dispatch the recovery failed action that will set the loading to false, and will set the error to the error that we will get from here. Okay, so now we can go to our recover password. We import connect from React Redux, right, to connect this component to our store. We map state to props, where we get access to our old store. We go to the auth part of our store, right? So, okay, we are getting an error, we'll get there. We go to the auth part of our store. Remember, on our reducers, we have the Firebase reducer that we sometimes go get the profile from the user. And on our auth reducer, you have the this is the auth reducer, right? So inside here we have the recover password. So we go to our auth reducer, I mean our auth part of our store, to recover, and here it's recover password. Okay. We get the loading and the error, and we map it to our props. Okay, so this is from our reducer. And then with this, we also get the action to recover the password, and we map it to our props. We have access to this send email action creator now here. And what we can do is, when we submit the form, instead of console logging the values, we can send in the values here, right? And let's see if everything looks okay. We can use the loading here because we already have it now. So sending recover email. We show an error message if there is error, and we show the error. If the error is equal to false, it means that it was successfully. So we can say recover email sent. Okay, and let's see. I'm going to use my email here, and let's open our Redux DevTools to see the actions that are dispatched. And let's try sending and sent. And now here I already got my recover password email. I'm going to copy the link that I get on it. So I'm going to copy it. I'm going to paste it here. And I can change my password here. Alright, so everything is working. Another thing that we can do is make the button disabled when we are sending. So we can say disable is valid or is submitting. Okay, we need to await here. Remember, we need to await for this to complete. So only after this completes, this is set to false and should be working. Okay, everything is working. So now what we are going to do next is when you log in, we will make it possible for the user to edit his profile. So change his first name, his last name, his email, or his password. And also he should be able to permanently delete his account. So let's go do that next.